please.
Thank you, Senator Reid. General Dunford, we've heard it said that America is losing the war in Afghanistan. Is that true?
Senator, what we've said is we're not winning, and it's at a stalemate. And that's my assessment of where we are right now. Is we're not at a point where we can bring a successful political solution to the war.
If the American leadership, including people in this room, including the Pentagon and the executive branch, if we decide to win this conflict in Afghanistan, is there any reason at all why we shouldn't be able to do so?
At the end of the day, Senator, I think it's going to require the Afghan people to actually develop the peace process that will bring an end to the war. What I believe the United States can do in conjunction with our coalition partners is provide the Afghan government and the Afghan security forces the support they need to bring an end to the war.
And is there any reason why we can't provide that support?
Senator, I don't believe there is any reason why we can't provide that support, and I think the new strategy that we're here to discuss with you here this morning provides the Afghan government and the Afghan security forces with that level of support to bring this to a successful completion.
Okay, and this has been alluded to, and you mentioned the Afghan people. Is there any lack of resolve on the part of the Afghan people, including their hearts and minds, to that would be a stumbling block to us being successful in this new strategy?
I don't believe so, Senator. It's very clear to me from my personal experience as well as recent polling that the Afghan people do, in fact, want a better life for themselves. They do reject the ideas of the Taliban. And from an individual soldier perspective, I think the one thing we can all say is that the Afghan forces have been incredibly resilient and demonstrated the will to fight over the last couple of years under the most extraordinary conditions.
They certainly have always demonstrated a willingness to fight. Are we viewed as an invading force?
Senator, I think anything but an invading force. Consistently, the Afghan people have requested us to be there. Our presence is favorable across the country. Again, in polling, typically somewhere between 70% and 80% of the Afghan people want support of the international community led by the United States. We've made it clear that our objectives are to support an Afghan-led peace process, to support Afghan security forces, bringing security to their country. So I don't think there's very, very few people who would consider us an invading force inside of Afghanistan. The vast majority are very happy that we're there helping them to bring peace and security to their country.
And in regard to the new strategy, the new plan, and the new emphasis on America doing its part to get the job done, how do our troops feel about that, up and down the rank and file, General?
Senator, I think if you speak to any young man or woman who has served inside of Afghanistan, they want to get the mission done. They want to accomplish the mission. We certainly, and Secretary Mattis has just recently come back from Afghanistan last week. All they want to know is what is the mission, and they want to have the wherewithal to accomplish that mission, and that's exactly what we're trying to provide to them.
Well, I'm not at all surprised by your answer. Mr. Secretary, let me just ask you briefly about NATO. You met with Secretary General Stoltenberg recently. NATO allies have made significant contributions. How are we doing with upping the involvement of NATO, and are you satisfied with our progress so far?
I need to get to NATO now that we've got the strategy in hand. Now that Secretary General and I have gone to Afghanistan and sit down with my counterparts, I'll do that in November. We are already in contact with them, I believe, from 15 NATO nations or partner nations fighting under NATO's flag, for example, like Australia, Georgia. I believe we will see, at least from 15 nations right now, additional troops put in there. There could be more than that. Those are just the ones I have indications right now that they're going to up their game.
What's their stake in all this?
Sir, if anything, they are even more vulnerable than the United States is in terms of transnational terrorists operating out of Afghanistan. against the European continent. So they've got a lot at stake here, but I think all the nations from South Asia, India, certainly China's got a stake in this. Europe does. This is a transnational problem, Senator.
Thank you. Well, let me just tell both of you, I appreciate your work, and I, for one, support you, and I just want you to tell us what you need, and we'll try to get it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.